The other day I went through my collection of Motörhead live albums and found I own around 50 now. Even if you subtract the bootlegs, there are still a staggering number of 36 live albums which appear to be official. Even after Lemmy passed away 10 years ago, they kept coming regularly. So I said to myself, there surely is a bunch of guys out there who just own 3 or 4 Motörhead live albums and wonder which of all those others are worth buying. Which are the best live albums from the 70s, 80s, 90s and 2000s? So this is not an album ranking, but an overview in chronological order. I'm dividing the albums into 4 categories. First, the official or regular live albums like No Sleep Till Hammersmith or No Sleep at All, which were released by Motörhead's then current record company shortly after the gig. The second, the licensed live albums, which means recordings made available maybe 10 or 20 years after the gig from archive material. For example, the Lost Tapes 1, live at Madrid 95, released in 2021, or Lock Up Your Daughters from 1978, a live album from Fast Eddie Clarke's collection of tapes, so authorized by a band member, yet released only in 1990, 12 years later. Then we have bonus live albums, not available separately. For example, Riders Wearing Black, live in Belfast 81, which was available in the Ace of Spades box set. Or Live at Glasgow 82, which came with this reissue of Iron Fist. Category number 4, video-based albums. Concerts filmed for a video in the first place, like Birthday Party 1985, which was sold initially on VHS tape, but later pressed on vinyl. Or The World Is Ours 2, a combined CD and DVD set. Apart from these 4 official categories, there are of course plenty of bootlegs around, but I'm going to mention only 3 of them, in cases where they feature something interesting you can't really find on any of the official albums. I divided the 40 years of Motörhead history into 6 parts and will recommend the best live albums from each of these periods. There are 5 albums available from the 70s, 2 of the bonus and 3 of the licensed type, since Motörhead did not have any regular live albums yet. Furthermore, the official BBC compilation holds some interesting early material. The best of these live albums to me is What's Wordsworth, recorded at London 1978, released 5 years later when Motörhead had become bigger. I prefer the original artwork with the skull-splitting axe, but there are also alternative versions with different covers, like this American pressing. It was recorded with official permits and a proper board, although that board was set up to record the band playing before them, called the Count Bishops, and the notoriously poor members of Motörhead just begged the crew to keep the tapes rolling. The gig is a nice choice, being a one-off show where Motörhead appeared under the name Iron Fist and the Hordes from Hell, clearly having fun. Unfortunately, there is no official live album on the first lineup of the band, with Larry Wallace and Lucas Fox. But a couple of recordings from the earliest Motörhead gigs exist, usually in very poor quality. In my opinion, Live at Hammersmith 1975 is the most listenable from the bunch. For 1980 to 1982, we got 1 regular live album, No Sleep Till Hammersmith, and 4 albums available as bonus discs. Simply, No Sleep Till Hammersmith rules here. However, best stick to the original album because the various extended bonus track versions only reveal why there were so many outtakes. They weren't good enough to use. Contrary to common belief, quite a few overdubs were necessary to finalize No Sleep Till Hammersmith at the studio. Lemmy confirmed that to me personally in one interview I did with him. There are 4 recordings legally available from the Another Perfect Day tour, but none released before 1991, because initially the Brian Robertson gigs were not exactly popular with the fans. Live 1983, released 8 years later, gives us great renditions of the Another Perfect Day songs. So does Live at Manchester Apollo, released 1994. Recently we got another gig from the same year in Hull, when Brian's only studio album with Motörhead was re-released. But you know what's really interesting from that period? Brian finished the Iron Fist tour for Fast Eddie in 1982 before Another Perfect Day was recorded. This LP, Beware the Dog, recorded at Milan, Italy, features Brian playing a lot of tracks from Ace of Spades or Iron Fist, which were dropped off the setlist later in favor of new songs. Thus it really fills a gap in Motörhead history. 5 offerings from these years, but my favorite remains Birthday Party because it's so much fun with all the guests appearing at the show, from Phil Lynott to Wendy Williams. Mind you, Motörhead thought 10 years of band existence deserved a celebration because they hadn't expected to last so long. Nobody would have thought that night they'd survive another 30 years. Welcome to the 90s. Here we got 1 official, 2 video-based, and 4 licensed later releases. My vote is for the official Everything Louder Than Everyone Else from Hamburg 1998, maybe because I witnessed the show at the venue, but especially because it proves that Motörhead played their best gigs ever on the tour. Since Mickey D had joined the band, the setlist was growing and growing to 20, 22, 25 songs. They played longer than ever before. It was terrific. In the early 2000s, Lemmy was still going strong, while after 2011 his health declined, the gigs were getting shorter, and obviously the recordings couldn't be the best anymore. I counted 9 officially released albums so far. Probably a few more will pop up in future, since there are many more recordings in professional quality which could be put out officially. Strangely enough, there is no official album from the Hammered tour in 2002 yet, which is why I added 1 bootleg from Switzerland to complete the list. The best of the lot appears to be Stage Fright. It was mixed by Cameron Webb, who had also produced the previous Motörhead studio album Inferno, so of course this sounds perfect and powerful. Thanks for listening, and I hope this helped a few people making choices.